The art community in general has been so disenfranchised for so long, and we're always the first people to get cut from a budget, whether it's schools or a business or whatever. Like, oh, we can get
Mhm.
rid of the creative shit. We don't need that. Like, we can just coast
It's
on the fumes.
always the creatives
It's the
first.
all, and it's like we define the culture. We're what made whatever that organization or group of people or thing. We're what made it different.
And we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dunback Meadow Podcast, the show where creators come to reclaim the value of their work. I am your host, Lauren Wixom, and today's episode is brought to you by Dunback Meadow, the platform where artists, musicians, designers, and AI creators can upload their work, set their own terms, and turn their work into income. Now let's go ahead and introduce our guest for today's episode. He is a serial entrepreneur, artist advocate, and Web3 leader. He's the founder of Epic Made, a champion for creator ownership and sustainable design, and a longtime mentor building the future of artist-led platforms. Welcome, Colorful Carl, aka Carl Cleanthes. What's up, Carl?
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you making the time for me, Lauren. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for coming on. So I think it's really cool. Like, we've been friends for a while, but so I know you pretty well. But for our guests that are, or our audience that are watching, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Virginia, and I started this art company in 2006. I went to design school in Norfolk and studied fine arts and graphic design, and been in love with the arts and storytelling and creativity my whole life. My dad was an artist, and his art is still like all over my house and all over the place. He passed away in 2016, but I've been in love with being creative my whole life. I like to make every little detail of all the things in my whole life. And I started this company, like I said, in 2006 and had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I didn't want a corporate job. And I tried that while I was in school, and it was really miserable, like actually depressed. And then I just been sort of failing in the right direction for 20 years. And now I have like a really cool business. And, we do amazing digital art and animation. We work with brands like Nickelodeon and Sci-Fi and Shopify and Lego and let's see what else is on the list. There's a bunch
That's
of them.
all cool.
We did a project for SpongeBob and The Undertaker. We did his 30-year anniversary video. Ninja Turtles. So that was cool.
Cool.
And we're working on our own stories, right? Because at our core, like, nothing's better than the stories we want to tell. We just have to bring them to life. So we have a comic on Webtoons called Supernal. It's been, hibernating for about a year and a half now, but we'll probably bring it back eventually. Just trying to find the space while we're juggling client work. But so now we focus on gaming, entertainment, and tech, and we work a lot in the advertising side of those things. So most of the things we build are going on social media platforms or, helping promote a product or something like that. So.
I love Webtoons. I don't think I've been on that app though in a while, but
yeah, it's
we'll
been a
have
while
to,
as well.
When you bring it back, you should definitely send me a link and I'll check it out.
For sure. It's a lot of fun. I made some physical comics from our Webtoons. This is one of them right here, where like we did the whole launch and then I printed them all out and made handmade scrolls. So like everybody's got a copy of their episode from the team. There's 8 of us on the team, so I made 8 pieces. So this one's 8 of 8. But I took the team out to dinner after we launched it, and I had this it was when they were launching the Rings of Power with Amazon, and all the boxes they were shipping were these little treasure chests. So like I took all these scrolls and put them in a treasure chest and took everybody out to a sushi dinner, and I gave everyone their 1 of 8. It was really cool.
That's cool. I love that.
Just being a nerd.
Hey, it's all about the presentation as well.
Yeah, definitely. So.
I love that, especially being on the receiving end of that. I mean, it's always fun. Like, I'm a huge gift giver, so I love putting little things together like that. But then like being on the receiving end of something special like that, it's an experience for sure.
Yeah, it was cool. I definitely stayed up for 12 hours the night before and got 2 hours of sleep and then took the team out to dinner. Yeah. So,
well, that's cool. I wish I was on the team. That's cool. Little scrolls. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm loving the background behind you, like especially that top shelf. Like, what is that? Do I see an alien? Like alien?
Yeah. So a predator and an alien, so xenomorph, and I guess what predators have an actual like canon name now in the comics, and then they were using it in the that last movie Badlands was amazing, by the way. But yeah, just got little random knickknacks. Like these are like little minis, like little Warhammer minis me and my wife made years ago, which are cool.
That's so cute.
This is one of my clients, Eldritch Foundry. You can make your own little custom minis and print them out. So this is one of theirs that I got.
Cool.
So and then my little meditating yoga skeleton and just cool shit. I don't know. That's a letter opener. That little dragon. It's got a little sword in it.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yeah, just the little things that keep me creative and inspired, right? This is brand new, by the way. First time I've had this on camera. I just redid the whole office, so I'm still trying to. I'm not fully in love with it yet. I need some cool lights and some more art, but that's my first really AI piece, which was all I generated. So when Midjourney first came out, I was doing my live stream and I had all these crazy ideas about this brain forest thing, and so I rendered 8 or 9 different images, and then on the live stream, it was 9 hours of live streaming. I was just chopping them all together and photo batching it all, which was cool. I didn't understand a lot about the behind the scenes part of AI then, in terms of the data sets and all the stolen intellectual property at that phase in the game. I was like, oh, I have a professional account with Midjourney. It says I own the rights to this. Well, that's fine and dandy. Midjourney can say whatever the hell they want, but that isn't the necessarily the case, right? So what I do own is the rights is the derivative, all of this final piece, I made that, right? Yeah. But all the assets that Midjourney rendered are basically a Creative Commons. Anyone could take those. They're not protectable in court because they weren't human authored.
Oh, wow.
And so we can get into a little bit of the weeds. I'm not an attorney, but I do a lot of advocacy stuff. So that's part of the conversation there. What is ethical use cases of AI and all that sort of stuff. So
I feel and we'll definitely hop into this a little bit later in the podcast, but AI has come such a long way, especially when it comes to art and owning the rights as well. But then I know it's still very controversial because, AI, especially towards the beginning, but still now it's using, if I wanted to, I could just prompt AI to basically paint me a Van Gogh version of, I don't know, my cat or something. Right. So it's not necessarily my style. So I know even though that piece of work is original and it's inspired by Van Gogh, it's still technically if I were to actually, I can paint a little bit, maybe not as good as you, but at the end of the day, that's not me as an artist. It's still taking from the original Van Gogh.
So, it is taking from the original Van Gogh, and Van Gogh in itself is an interesting example because Van Gogh has been dead a while, right? So it's the lifetime of the artist plus 75 years. And I don't know where that lands on Van Gogh. I feel like he might still be protected. Van Gogh.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I think it's 75 years too. Don't quote me on that. It's something in that range. Yeah, he died in 1890. So his stuff's out of copyright protection. Another interesting fact about him is no one in his direct lineage can afford any of his paintings, which is where I was like, man, this is why we need NFTs, right? So the art community in general has been so disenfranchised for so long, and we're always the first people to get cut from a budget, whether it's schools or a business or whatever. We can get rid of the creative shit. We don't need that. We can just coast on the few.
It's always the creatives first.
It's we define the culture. We're what made whatever that organization or group of people or thing. We're what made it different, what unique gave it its flavor, the creativity part of it, right? It's innate in human beings. So that always makes me crazy. So because of that, I feel the art community in general is always on edge and afraid of change, especially big technology, and big technology comes big business, and big business is never looking out for us, right? So it's
oh no.
I saw people hating on Web3 and NFTs, but not really understanding the thing, right? They don't understand how you can use NFTs to permanently create records of your work. So that as people are trying to defraud you or your fan base, there's a record that you can maintain that nobody can hack, that says what is your actual official work and what is not, and when was it created, and any details you want about that. that's infinitely powerful. And then being able to have those transactions on the blockchain and record like, hey, my art sells for X number of dollars. Here's the records of it selling for X numbers of dollars over and over and over again. So then it protects the collector, because now the collector has an actual like reference point of like, hey, no, you don't sell this work for less than that. Look how much it traded at this and at this and at this. And so it's really, really crazy powerful there. And then when you look in the AI side, like AI is a new tool, right? And it's very disruptive, right? It's allowing people to bridge a lot of different creativity gaps, right? Like I have tons of great ideas, but like taking all my ideas and aggregating them into a thing, and then being able to use that to produce stuff like ChatGPT is massively helpful for that, right? But also like, is that data set an ethical data set, right? And I would say the quick answer is no, because of the way it was created. And basically they just stole everything from the internet, right? Which is a huge violation to copyright law. So anyways, I can go deep in the weeds on all this, but I'll take
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. No, but you're absolutely right on that. Since we're already just jumping into the nitty gritty, so we're already talking about Web3 and NFTs. So, and I know you've already given your perspective, but just for the question's sake, from your perspective in Web3, what's broken about how creators are treated on today's platform? So I like how you mentioned that NFTs are perfect for the artist and how it doesn't only just log that it is your original piece of work, like it came from you, but it also logs how much you sold it for, what coin was used, like it logs everything. But I like the perspective that you brought up on how it doesn't just protect the artist, but it also protects the collector as well. So I really like that. I've never seen it from that point of view.
Yeah, I think so. The high level is, in Web 2, which Web 2 is defined by like the boom of user generated content, right? So like we had Web 1, that's the internet, and you dial up internet and it got all the way into high speed and everything's excited and everybody needs a website. But then that social media vibe came in and Web 2, and Web 2 starts to become like these giant communities built by user generated content. Well, the big thing that sucks about Web 2 is, you can make money, make a bunch of money on YouTube, and people do really well there. But like, who's making the real money, right? Like the users generating the value and building the communities are getting a fraction of that money, right? So the big push in Web3 is that it's trying to be more equitable, trying to share more of that value to the people, right? And it remains to be seen, if these Web3 platforms, if we can get mass adoption, how well they'll work, right? Because is there that value on the corporate side of Web2 where it's like, hey, YouTube should be making trillions of dollars off of this and sharing, a few hundred million, or because that business needs that sort of infrastructure and all that? Or is the more decentralized nature of Web3 where a community builds a platform, edits the things, people have real sovereignty, they own their NFTs, the communities that are in those are also building it, right? That's like the really cool part of Web3. So I feel like the answer is like, there's plenty of money to share, and the creators should be getting their fair share. And that's what I'm excited about most in Web3.
Definitely. No, I agree. And that's one of the things that, you're on the Dunback Meadow podcast. So that's what our platform really preaches on, with all the prerequisites that's required to make money from art on social platforms. It's not fair, like you mentioned. And it's also just a huge headache. It takes a lot of time. And in this economy, we don't really have that time to build 10,000 followers to start getting monetized, or to wait and hope that our friends who also live in the same economy, so they may not have the money to support us, like, crossing our fingers and hoping that they will click the link to our Etsy or our website and then purchase our art as well. So that's what Dunback Meadow really preaches on is, hey, when you upload your art, mints into an NFT, so you have that protection that, hey, it is your original content. And then you also have, you're selling things, it also records how much you sold it for. But also you're not waiting to make that money, essentially, or you're not waiting on an algorithm, I guess, to push out your work. You're not waiting for 10,000 followers to be monetized. Like, you could join Dunback Meadow today and then post your art right now, and then somebody could immediately go in and purchase it.
Right. Yeah. And the struggle on the bigger platforms, the more established, Web 2 spaces, which I think eventually will adopt Web 3 when they don't have a choice, right? But in the meantime, we have to put the pressure on from the community sides. But it's sort of pay to play now, right? Like, no one sees your stuff unless
Yep.
you have a big following or you're paying for advertising. So, and I it's difficult to navigate how you fix that. Dunback's like doing awesome things. I'm excited to see that grow. And it'll be interesting to see how you guys can do things differently over there where people can get more exposure early on.
This podcast is brought to you by Dunback Meadow, the platform built for creators who want real value from their work. Whether you make music, art, 3D models, videos, or AI agents, Dunback Meadow lets you upload your work, set your terms, and earn fairly when others use it. Create your free account today at dunbackmeadow.com and start earning from what you create. Now, on with the show.
I think it's super cool that you guys just gave away $1,000 to an art competition, and not as many people entered as they should have. So if you guys are seeing this, like they literally had an art competition. Everyone did some art, sent in. I actually helped judge it, and there was not as many entries as I would like to have seen. And we gave the top place was $1,000, and then there was like several that got 500 or 250 after that. So like really like great awards. Better than almost every other platform I've seen. So that's pretty amazing.
The art was actually quite interesting. Like some of them were interesting, definitely original. They had personality. And then of course, like you had like the contest was holiday themed. So it was really awesome to see, you had a different collection of your basic, more family oriented pieces of art where it's like families gathered around a tree. But then you have your other pieces of art that are a little bit more eccentric.
Yeah, eccentric is definitely it. There were someone's particular flavor, right? Like, when I was judging that one, like it was like, in this case, I was the only judge. So it was more like, what for me, first and foremost, like, do I see like a quality, like compositional piece of art? Like, does this look well illustrated? Do I want to give first place to someone who actually looks like they care about the craft of art and drawing or illustration or whatever this piece is? So that was like the first thing for me. And then after that, I was like, who took some risk here and did something fun, right? Like I really, I mean, there was a couple people that had like a more Hallmark type of like, oh, here's the tree and this is what it means to me. And like I think Christmas is over commercialized, like hot mess. I don't want to get into, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's, like they love Christmas, and I love Christmas with my family, but like, we look at it as a celebration of the, the beginning of winter and the end of the shortest day of the year. And like, we have our evergreen tree, right? These are all like nature religion things that were appropriated over the years, but we love the idea of gift giving and all that. But I just love this idea of this like mocking Santa that the guy, somebody drew, and I don't know, I'm sure you have it, but like, it was hilarious. Killed Santa, and it was really well illustrated, and it just like hit me as like, this is the one. I looked through them all, I was like, that's the first one that comes to mind, like that's got to be the winner. And the art was done really well, but there was some other ones that were more like, hey, here's the family with the tree, and like it was nice and painterly, and those I thought those were really nice, and those were winners as well. But the one that stood out to me was the one that took the most risk, but also the quality of the illustration like was actually really good, like so that in itself had a lot of value on top of that. So and then there was some that just like we're clearly using AI, and the competition was not use AI. That's getting harder and harder to discern. But as an artist myself, it's, you look at these pieces and it's like, hey, a human being wouldn't have made the decision to make this arm like extra long right here and twist out. So it's like, you have to like dive into those. And I'm not trying to judge anybody for using AI. There's a time and place for that. Like this was like, I'd say like the pixels in there is probably 80% AI, but like lots went into transforming it and creating it into a piece in Photoshop. Whereas like that piece over there started off as like this watercolor illustration that I did in bed one time, and then I wanted to take it digital because I was afraid of ruining this. So I'm still going back to finishing.
That's cool.
So, but it's important to notice, like, when you're judging an art competition, like what's the props? Like what were you asked to do? Because the competition usually has some guidelines around it, right? And then from there, it's like, who's really pushing the envelope, who's really doing something unique and different and trying to stand out and really be creative, right? That's what creativity is for me, like coming up with a unique approach and a solution to a thing.
Seeing the artist through their art in a way.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, and look, if you're not putting yourself into your art, you're not really making art, right? Like when I first started my business, I created, it was called Creative Art and Design Studios, which at its core, like we do creative art and design. It still like resonates through the business, right? But like everything about it was super generic, and it was like, what do people want to see? Like, how can I be the like, because I didn't know then, like I didn't know, like, no, you should let yourself shine through this and be totally eccentric and weird, and just like, you don't want to be so weird that people don't want to talk to you, but you want to be just weird enough for like, oh, that person's really creative, they've got good ideas, right? So
it's that fine line, like shock factor. You want something where people like do a double take and they're like, oh, like you just want to make them look a little longer. I feel like that's hard to do nowadays also, because the constant doom scrolling, you know, what was it? You have, when it comes to making a video, you have 1 second to capture someone's attention. And then once they stay past that 1 second, it's like, okay, keeping them on for, if the video is 30 seconds, how much of that 30 seconds can I keep that person on, which still isn't very long.
It's a crazy world of lots of noise. It's so noisy out there. I actually deleted social media from my phone over a year ago. So like I'll get on LinkedIn a little bit. That's the only thing I have on my phone. And it's been really nice, actually. It's been really nice.
That's a great practice. Well, that's fun. I was just curious, like, okay, so we have Carl judging. So, and I obviously, like, we've seen your art. I mean, that's just it. You're Carl. So I was like, I told George, founder, I was like, we have to have my friend judge if he's willing, because he's amazing. And I know, like, you partnered with Boston Blockchain Week as well to do like your NFT gallery. I know you did that last year. Did you do that the year before as well?
No, not the year before. I just spoke. I did an NFT keynote the year before, and then spoke on a panel. And this year I just did a panel, and then I did the display of art and the gallery over there, or what? I think it's not a gallery. It's the food section or whatever. It was funny. I overheard someone like, "Look at this art. It's all AI," and it's like there was no AI art in that. Like it was like, what are you talking about? It was so funny. So that's the problem now, right? Like it's so crazy out there, and it's hard to value art because you don't know how it was created, and you don't want to not make people feel, you don't want to appreciate art that was made in a traditional fashion, because it just is, there's a different quality to it, right? It's a different thing, but like it's like everything's AI, but what if it's not, and how do you tell? And it's getting crazier and crazier. So like I don't know what the answer to that is yet, but I've definitely seen a lot of people like posting their work like no AI, and it's like, but did you use any AI in Photoshop, or like are you using content aware fill? That's AI. And it's like, where's the hair split, right? So is it generative AI? Like is it using justice? Are you building your own LoRa models? Like do we want to get into the weeds of like you can actually control your own data set, create a data set for your thing so that you can create more work faster from your own labor? Now you're just using a tool that you've dialed in with your work. So then is that ethical or not? Like, does that degrade the quality of your work? These are all like, this is like existential questions now. We're getting crazy as the technology gets crazier. But with the Graphic Artists Guild, we're on the advocacy committee. We protect artists' rights since the 1970s. We literally write the book on the pricing and ethical guidelines, which has pretty much all creative careers in it and different pricing. So 17th edition.
There you go.
This is an amazing book. So if you're a creator, we have stuff in here about AI. We have stuff in here about Web3, and then everything else. You got, contracts for, sample contracts for how to price your stuff. If you're a freelancer or own a small business in the creative space, like you definitely need this book. And if you join the guild, you get it for free. Otherwise, I think it's like 30, 40 bucks, 55 bucks. But I mean, it is priceless knowledge. So
I feel like that's worth it, especially with there's a ton of technicalities when it comes to like licensing and just selling, and then like we spoke about earlier, do you own the rights? Is it your work? Is it original? What constitutes original, especially with AI? And that's cool that you have AI in it as well.
And it's a link. There's a QR code that links to the website where like we're keeping this page up to date, because you can imagine like we had to get all this done to publish 6-7 months ahead of time. So like how much has changed since then? A lot, right? So it's definitely a moving needle.
I didn't even think about that, like how long it takes to publish a book. And if you're publishing something on tech, especially something like AI or blockchain, it's like by the time you get it out, it's already a completely different model. That's going to be the same thing for the next book too. Then when you have more updated things on AI, it's just going to again, be outdated by the time it comes out.
Yeah, well, that's why we've got parts in it now that are like digital hybrid, right? So like here's the base level of things you need to know that we feel like high level aren't going to change, but like here's the QR code, scan this, go to the website, you can see all the like trending current events and all the things there, and updated information to just keep people informed and protected. So, and we are putting out the ethical use case of AI, so like the things you should be thinking of when you use AI. So like the guild doesn't have a stance on like, is it bad or good, because it's just technology, right? You know,
it's a
there's
tool.
ways to use it bad and there's ways to use it good. And there's like, you know, we're looking at data sets now and supporting, you know, particular groups that are creating data sets that are opt-in, right? So like a bunch of artists come in and they go, hey, we'd like to license our work to a group license, right? So this is, you know, they've opted in to be in this, and then they get a profit share from all the usage of the data set, right? So that's an ethical data set, right? Everyone there got compensation credit and was consenting to be in it, right? Like versus what's happening now, which is a violation of copyright law. And we're in the conversations with all the biggest copyright holder groups, trying to make sure that copyrights don't get destroyed, right? Like we need that in order to be able to license our work and to sell our work and to protect our work. Because if we don't have that, like there's no intellectual property laws, right? And if that's the case, if that's the way we're going, like everything's going to be open. So, right? So it's like drugs, you know, you can't charge $1 bajillion for drugs anymore because you can't own this shit, right? You can reverse engineer anybody's technology and do whatever you want. So we're either going that way, and it's like, you know, everybody can get access to everything, or we need to protect people's rights. Like, so, you know,
that made me think a little bit.
Monsanto can't own genetic patents anymore. You know, like if you want to go that way, cool, let's go. Let's all go over here where like you can't charge us $1 bajillion for something that costs 50 cents for you to make. I'm good with that because the market will demand that it does it, because someone's just going to come out with the, hey, well, we made it for 50 cents. We sold it for $1.50. You can't sell these drugs for $3,000 a month. Like, yeah, anyway.
Right.
But I don't think big corporations want that either. So in this case, we are perfectly aligned with giant corporations, you know, which is great. We want to protect intellectual property rights. The AI corporations don't want it for some reason. And the problem is they want a special space for what they call fair use, which is there's fair use. So within copyright law, there's fair use, right? Like I can pull up your work and talk about it without needing you to approve it, right? So it's commentary. There's parody. There's, you know, there's all sorts of different ways that you can do things. You can even take something and make works from it as long as it's transformative, right? Which is sort of a gray area. Like, am I saying something new and unique and different with these things? Like in the Andy Warhol case, right, where we used all the Campbell Soups labels, right? Those were those are copyrighted work, right? So he used them in a way that was considered transformative, and thus allowed him to do his thing with them and sell them and own that piece of that he made. Like, so he doesn't own the Campbell's Soup label, obviously, but he owns his interpretation and the statement he was making, or his statements. But so those are interesting little bits within the copyright space. So.
Right. Can't you use isn't it up to 10 seconds of a song that's not yours?
So it's not based on seconds. It's based on that transform. Are you using this and saying something new and unique and fresh and different with your interpretation of it? That said, like in 10 seconds, like probably, like, because if you have less than, you know, that's probably where that, like, because I've heard that before, and that's not the law. The law is basically, is it transformative? So basically, like if you take it in there into your song and you layer it in with 5 other things, and you're doing this and you're using this statement to say something else, then you can make an argument that it's fair use because it's transformative. Right. So that's basically what it is. Right. So it's not the length as much as it is the application, if that makes sense.
Got you. Okay. Well, the musicians heard it here.
And I'm not an attorney, so you can still get buried and financially bankrupt being right. You can. That's the system we live in, right? You can have the right. You can be totally in the right, and whoever's suing you in the wrong, and you can't fight them enough because you didn't get enough, pro bono support, and you don't have a multi-million-dollar legal team. So
exactly. Well, I think this was a really good conversation. Is there any piece of advice or inspiration that you want to give our listeners for making a career out of art, or whatever you want? is there a message you'd like to give out to them?
Yeah, don't be afraid of what's going on in the world. Use your frustration to inspire you. Don't be afraid of Web3 technology. Don't be afraid of AI. Learn those things. Understand what they are, how they bring value to society and to culture and to art even. And then figure out, like, I'm not saying use them. I'm saying understand them so that you can position yourself in a way. Like, maybe you hate AI art, maybe you hate the idea that it's in anything. A lot of artists do. Like, we've worked for our whole lives to be able to make these things by hand, and now it's like somebody can write some stuff in Midjourney and like make something of similar perceived quality by work they stole from us, right? Like, that's bullshit. But that said, like, maybe you have an angle where you can approach that where it's like, hey, mine's unique. I don't do that. Like, and build your brand around what you stand for, and that your personal message resonates through your art. And that can be audio, that can be writing, that can be digital art. I'm getting ready to relaunch my live stream, and I'm going to set up a thing where I can do physical art again, because I love that, right? And I hadn't done it in so long. And that piece I picked up and showed you earlier, the tree man face thing, it's called Natural Surrender, which is one of my favorite pieces I've ever made. But I started with just a sketch. Like, I hadn't done physical art like in a decade or so. Like, so it just felt amazing. Just lean into you.
Yeah.
It's about, just don't put your head in the sand. Keep yourself informed with everything you can, and then figure out your angle. Like, what's different about your work? What are you trying to say with your work and the way that you do?
That's really encouraging, and I'm excited for you relaunching your live stream.
Yeah.
I've already told you, like, I've watched you. I mean, I've never unfortunately been able to catch it live because I'm always like doing something or I'm out and about. But I'll like come home and I'll pop on X or LinkedIn and I'll be like, oh, Carl's on. And then I'll just kind of like watch the recording of it. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I really love watching the whole process of how you create your pieces. And I know you have like a much deeper story to your art as well. And, maybe that's something we can share in a future podcast. But I really feel like it's special. And I've since I met you, I've always been a big fan of your art. I love it. I think it's super unique. I love the style. And I love that you're not afraid to use AI as well with it. Because, like you said, it's hard because as an artist, you've worked for years perfecting your craft, learning how to do things. And now you have just this machine that can spit something out in 10 seconds. And not only that, but it's also taking, like, it's not really original. It's taking ideas, like you said, it's getting information from the internet to create that piece of work. So anyway.
Well, thank you for all that.
I digress, but I think it's special.
I think the specialness you're probably referring to is that, like, all my work, I've infused little bits of my father's art into it. Even if it's just like a texture or some like, abstract painting that I layered in. And a lot of them like start off as old sketches from my dad. And my whole personal brand, Colorful Carl, me doing art, all came from my need to reconnect with my father, who passed away in 2016. And I launched an NFT collection for him. So it took me on this whole like journey of creativity and getting back to my roots of being creative, because in my 9 to 5, like, I'm the CEO of Epic Made. Like, I don't do art at all. I run this very creative company, but I don't do the creative parts. Like, I do creative thinking. I do strategy. Like, I have a lot of fun. I love it. My team's amazing. The culture's amazing, but I don't put my pen to paper. I don't push the pixels around anymore. And I needed to scratch that itch to be fulfilled in my life, right? Because it's not about money. It's about, like, am I glad to be alive? Am I happy to be doing the shit that I'm doing? Like, am I leaving a legacy that, like, is, worth even talking about to the people that are still here for a couple years after I'm gone? Like, I don't know. Who knows what the point of all this is?
Gotta love life.
For sure.
It's life. It's the experience. It's the journey of the soul.
For sure.
Awesome, Carl. Well, okay, this was a lot of fun. Thank you again for coming on to the Dunback Meadow podcast. And who knows, maybe we'll have you on again, maybe in a few months. And
sure,
I don't know, we can talk more AI and maybe talk more Web3, and maybe we'll have some questions come in that people want to know more about. And I know you're super passionate about the space, especially like when it comes to art and then an artist's rights as well.
I love that. I love that. Maybe we'll share some live streams from my channel to Dunback Meadow.
Here we go.
Work that out. Cool.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, thank you for having me, Lauren.
Thanks for listening to the Dunback Meadow Podcast. If today's conversation inspired you, start your own creative journey with us at dunbackmeadow.com, where your work is valued, protected, and yours to control, and where your creations work for you. See you in the next episode.